Everyone is welcoming the Hamas response. Clearly, the president himself, the leaders of the United Nations, all of the mediators. But what was this response? Why are they so positive about it? And did they actually accept the Donald Trump plan that came and clearly violated many lines in relation to do with the Palestinian cause? Let's go into all of the details and the statements that came primarily from Donald Trump. What was the response that came from Hamas? Did they give anything up? Did they accept it? That's it, and we're going into an agreement, or are they entering a negotiation after this? Let's begin with, of course, the post that came from Donald Trump about this confirmation from Hamas. Let's have a look. Firstly, Donald Trump, again, a very significant move, to be fair, an American president posting a statement from the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, which he constantly speaks badly about. He posted their statement, important statement, on Hamas response on US President Donald Trump's proposal. That's the official statement of Hamas, and they published it in Arabic as well. But the American translation, which is in line with the Arabic wording, and the whole statement itself is exceptionally carefully calculated. That's to say the least. Let's read all of it. Out of keenness to end the aggression and genocide being carried out against our steadfast people in the Gaza Strip, and stemming from national responsibility and in defense of the constant rights and higher interests of our people, the Islamic resistance movement Hamas has conducted in-depth consultations with its leadership institutions, broad consultations with Palestinian forces and factions, and consultations with brothers, mediators, and friends in order to reach a responsible position in dealing with US President Donald Trump's plan. After thorough study, the movement has made decision and conveyed the following response to the mediators. Hamas appreciates the Arab, Islamic, and international efforts, as well as efforts of the US President Donald Trump, calling for an end to the war in the Gaza Strip, the exchange of prisoners, the immediate entry of aid, the rejection of the occupation of the Strip, and the rejection of the displacement of our people from it. Within this framework, and in a manner that achieves an end to the war and a full withdrawal from the Strip, the movement announces its approval of releasing all occupation prisoners, both living and remains, according to the exchange formula contained in President Donald Trump's proposal, with the necessary field conditions for implementing the exchange. In this context, the movement affirms its readiness to immediately enter, through the mediators, into negotiations to discuss the details. The movement also reaffirms its approval to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian body of independents, technocrats, based on Palestinian national consensus and supported by Arab and Islamic backing. As for other issues included in President Trump's proposal concerning the future of the Gaza Strip and the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, this is tied to a collective national position and in accordance with relevant international laws and resolutions, to be discussed within a comprehensive Palestinian national framework in which Hamas will be included and will contribute with full responsibility. What do we have here exactly? Did they accept Donald Trump's peace plan? They accepted one clause on conditions. Apart from that, they're saying we're entering into negotiations and we're going to remain here. No talk about disarming the Palestinian resistance, nothing as such. However, It was meticulously worded, word by word, to show that they are positive about this approach, that they are keen supporting Donald Trump's efforts to reach a ceasefire, and in essence, pulling the rug from underneath Benjamin Netanyahu, who wanted to isolate the Palestinian resistance to a level where the American president himself is posting this Hamas statement. And he wasn't the only thing that he posted on his social media. He also said the following. Donald Trump stated this on Truth Social as well. Based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready for a lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop bombing Gaza so that we can get the hostage out safely and quickly. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We are already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. This is about long-sought peace in the Middle East. Donald Trump, in effect, is accepting and welcoming this response from Hamas that did not totally accept his deal without conditions. In one of my previous videos that I spoke about the semi-official rejection of the deal, there were blatant statements confirming that the Palestinian resistance will totally refuse disarming. And as a matter of fact, in this statement that Hamas published, they're blatantly confirming that they're going to remain there and participate with full responsibility. Very far from the statements that we heard and the amendments added by Netanyahu that Donald Trump himself endorsed. When is this coming? This is coming after multiple leaders of Arab and Muslim states started to actually criticize this position being taken, and the fact that the United States administration published certain statements that were not really in line with the original plan. Donald Trump then
I want to thank the country.
Posted another video. This was the video that he published.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together. Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down and concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So,
okay, we get the idea. That's the main part. Okay, saying that we're entering these negotiations, and he's confirming that there are more talks. Everything is positive, thanking the mediators after their criticism, by the way, because they criticized the fact that he published this statement after the amendments of Netanyahu. All right, what do we have here? We have, in essence, Donald Trump accepting the fact that Hamas did not fully endorse his document, but viewed it positively, agreed to one of its clauses on conditions, and saying we're willing to enter immediately, and if the conditions are correct, we will release all of them in one go. That's not something new. Hamas proposed that from the beginning. From day one, Hamas told Israel we're willing to release all of them on certain conditions. That's not something for the sake of Donald Trump. But they knew how to word it carefully, and clearly they sat down with people who know how to speak with Donald Trump himself directly, because clearly now we're having an involvement at the top levels, no longer delegations, no longer teams, no longer nothing. They are going to go and speak with the top levels directly. All right. What is happening in Israel? And how is Benjamin Netanyahu going to take this? What are the things expected to happen here? Well, firstly, we need to understand now there is a genuine momentum, not a stunt, a genuine endorsement of literally all of the leaders of the world, European countries, Germany. The chancellor just said this is the best option for peace. Head of the UN, the American president, the mediators, everyone, and all eyes are on who? On Israel. The opposition leader, Yair Lapid, told Trump, I am giving Benjamin Netanyahu a safety net to pass on with this agreement. So in effect, no one is giving Netanyahu any way out. Any way out. And in Israel, they're already talking about the possibility of the government collapsing. Netanyahu is preparing for that moment and to declare the potential ending, assuming he would go. Again, everything could collapse, mind you. Let's not be like too optimistic that everything's going to, no. Everything can collapse like things collapsed before. But we have this momentum happening and we have these responsive. Benjamin Netanyahu was actually surprised by Donald Trump's statements, according to reports in Israel. Netanyahu surprised by Trump, but Hamas's response has something to work with. According to sources familiar with the details, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was surprised by US President Donald Trump's statement, which in response to Hamas's response called on Israel to stop bombing Gaza immediately. And as a result, nightly emergency consultations are being held on how to respond. However, the sources say that there is something to work with in Hamas's response. Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu is surprised. He did not really expect this by Donald Trump, but Benjamin Netanyahu has been facing a lot of difficulties in the past few days after he asked for these amendments to be made with Donald Trump, with one of his top aides, the closest person to Benjamin Netanyahu in the past several years, Benjamin Netanyahu's Minister of Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, resigning on his way out. Dermer is on his way to resign from the Israeli government. And when did that happen? And stepping away from politics all of a sudden when Netanyahu wanted him. And this is his key man who was talking with the American administration, with everyone else, was Netanyahu's yes man, the front, in effect, the closest person to Benjamin Netanyahu. He relied on Ron Dermer when he put everyone on the side in relation to the Gaza talks and the negotiations, even when the head of the Mossad was set aside, even when the head of Shabak was set aside. Ron Dermer remained there. Now he's going. Why? Clearly because Benjamin Netanyahu insisted on that move with Donald Trump that he was directly involved in, and something happened there that Ron Dermer isn't really disclosing because he doesn't want to break all of the bridges and burn the bridges with Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a very important move. Netanyahu feels like he is now secluded. He's betrayed. He only has the idiots around him, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who go and call these humanitarian aid flotilla guys terrorists, right? You know, stuff for internal consumption. And this man is leaving him. Therefore, we have something serious happening. What are the Israeli mainstream media outlets saying about this response coming from Hamas and the American president posting this on his social media outlet? Well, this is the largest Israeli newspaper on its website, Yediot Ahronot, or its website, Ynet. Trump has tied Israel's hands. No more negotiations under fire. They said the president accepted Hamas's response and ignored facts, apparently because of his hopes for a Nobel Prize, even at the cost of an achievement for the poor. With this announcement, he also endangers Netanyahu politically. Next step, negotiating team for Doha, perhaps a more senior one this time. People with the right to close a deal, not a gutted delegation without any mandate to close a deal like what Benjamin Netanyahu has been sending before. People who basically do nothing. They continued this report that Donald Trump, in effect, is taking Israel's ability to negotiate under fire, a principle that it has held to this day, as long as there is no written agreement. So Israel is understanding that Trump now, and he said it, they need to stop now. Israel must stop attacking now because Hamas clearly accepted the peace plan. We'll go back to the post in a sec if you want to. The ball is now in Israel's court, which is in the middle of a dilemma, as the president is demanding that it cease fire without any understandings at all. This is what Israel gets from what Donald Trump is saying. Whether they implement it, whether or not, whether everything explodes, separate story, this is what's happening. At the heart of Trump's ambitions, they continued, apparently, is the expectation of winning the Nobel Peace Prize even at the cost of a poor man's achievement. Trump was not interested in the facts and accepted Hamas's response as a confirmation of his plan, even though it accepts almost no clause in it. That is spot on. They only took one clause and said on conditions, yet the wording and the approach of Hamas to the United States president made him give that endorsement to this statement, and therefore they are continuing. And then they quoted it. Thankfully, I'm not going to have to resort back to Donald Trump's statement because they have it here. Truth Social, the second one after the state official statement of Hamas, said, based on the statement released by Hamas, I believe they are ready for a lasting peace. Israel must immediately cease bombing Gaza so that we can release the hostages safely and quickly. It's too dangerous to do so right now, clearly saying that Israel needs to stop attacking for this to continue. No more Israel can do whatever it wants or whatever it is. We are already on the in discussions on the details that have not yet been settled, clarifying, Trump confirming that there are talks about the certain details that they haven't really concluded, which in essence proves that Trump is open to the idea of starting to negotiate from this point onwards rather than take his peace plan as a sacred text and that's it. He understands that and he accepts that fact. This is not just Gaza, this is the Middle East peace deal that has been desired for a long time. Okay, this is the situation that we have here. In effect, we have a case now, visibly and by the statements and by the confirmations, that the American president is pleased with the response, the positive response that Hamas gave that did not abide by or confirm any of the clauses that came in that amended deal. Donald Trump is visibly confirming that he is happy with that, for the first time ever publishing the statement of the Palestinian resistance on his social media, saying that he believes they want peace. That reduces the power of Benjamin Netanyahu, the leverage of Benjamin Netanyahu, let alone the approach of Benjamin Netanyahu in his statements that they wanted to isolate us, now we isolate them. The fact that this response from Hamas, that does not give up any of the national Palestinian rights, any of the things that need consensus, and does not take anything that Donald Trump stated apart from one on conditions, which if met are achievable, is being endorsed by everyone. It's being endorsed by the United States president. It's being endorsed by European leaders who are very hostile to the Palestinian side and very supportive to the Israeli side. It's being endorsed officially by the UN. It's being endorsed by all of the Arab and Muslim states, or the majority of them. And it's leaving Israel again isolated in potentially one of the most diplomatically difficult situations that they have been in since the beginning of this genocide. What are Benjamin Netanyahu's options and what are the likelihoods moving forward? Well, we have a situation where we are entering negotiations. So the thing that we need to establish here is that the president himself, the American president, everyone else talking about the fact that we are entering negotiations. That means the negotiations are almost officially restarting, assuming the Israeli side will not take this as an outright rejection and say that we are going again in Gaza, but not without that huge backing of Donald Trump after this statement that he had. And although, again, Donald Trump himself, he has a lot of U-turns and 180s. The fact that officials close to Netanyahu are saying that there's something to work on, the fact that he has a political backing and he might believe that he can somehow convert this into a political victory that would increase his chances in the next Israeli elections that will be early elections if Benjamin Netanyahu decides to go on with this deal, and the fact that he will be granted amnesty or something similar in Israel, by the way. This is very important. The Israeli president already stated that we need to have this sorted because this is a burden on our society. The case against Netanyahu. Netanyahu then would feel like he is going to get away with his criminal charges. He can continue in the government. He can try and translate this into a victory, despite the fact that the Palestinian side is ultimately the victorious side by not giving up for 2 years. And after all of that, the conditions of the Palestinian resistance will be met, but somehow he would want to translate it to the Israeli crowd that this is some sort of a victory and he brought Israel to where it is now. Therefore, they need to elect him again. Again, a possibility, easily manipulated. He still has a cult. He has a lot of following too in Israel. Then there would be a possibility for him to go ahead with some sort of an agreement. If he goes down that path, we will see some of these elements being translated in the next few days. If Israel continues with the path of destruction and killing and all of that, you're going to potentially see that things will not be really working that much. And there might be back and forth with the American administration, with the mediators too. However, there are chances that talks will begin, will continue up until something is achieved. Now, that something that is achieved will not be the final end game. That will be a ceasefire agreement. If Benjamin Netanyahu or Donald Trump would want to publish it or sell it as if it's some sort of peace land for political gain, that's a separate story. It is not going to be the final solution or the ultimate solution. There are still very many details to be spoken about, whether when it comes to Palestinian statehood, historical rights, Palestinian rights, all of the things, including the Palestinian. We're just talking about a ceasefire agreement. So it's unrealistic to expect like a total solution. No, this is just a ceasefire agreement. They want to inflate it and say peace and all of that for their own political gain. Netanyahu for his personal victory, Trump because he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. But what it is in essence is a victory to the Palestinian people if it is achieved, and even in the form of a ceasefire, a victory for the Palestinian people, a victory for the resistance, a victory for every human being on earth who supported the Palestinian side and still does.